Let's bring in Deputy District Attorney John McKinney. He is assigned to the Major Crimes Division. He works for District Attorney George Gascon, technically. He's been a critic, though, of this policy when it comes to not showing up for hearings like this. Why?
Well, the people should be represented. That's what we elect a district attorney for. That's what we pay him for. The people should be in the room for transparency. The people should be in the room to see the full record that the Board of Commissioners are relying on when they make an important decision like this. And it doesn't mean that we end up opposing parole. It may very well be that Sirhan Sirhan or anyone in that position deserves to be paroled based on this, certainly the amount of time he did, 53 years, I believe. But we shouldn't be absent, and the DA shouldn't abdicate his responsibility to have somebody there to make sure everything is copacetic.
You've been an outspoken critic of your boss, essentially. What is the dynamic like, given that you are out there in front of cameras and calling him out, essentially?
Well, you know, to his credit, at least when it comes to me, and I know that there are other deputy DAs who have filed lawsuits and grievances, and I have no comment on those things because I don't have any personal knowledge of them. But when it comes to me, he has left me alone. And I credit him with that. As a public official who's making important decisions that affects the lives of people, he's got to have tough enough skin to take some criticism. And I've been leveling it. I think it's been fair criticism. And so far, I have heard nothing from him. And I don't expect to hear anything from him. I expect him to let me do my job.
In this particular case, we hear that the family members of Robert Kennedy supported this decision in terms of Sirhan Sirhan getting paroled. Does that make sense to you? How do you read this case?
You know, it makes sense to me to the extent that it made sense for them. Every family is different. And again, this is kind of an unusual case. It's an outlier. It's a case in which a killer served an actual 53 years in prison over 5 decades. Nobody's going to argue that that's an insignificant amount of time. On the other hand, the enormity of this crime originally qualified it for the death penalty. I think a lot of people forget that. Originally, Sirhan Sirhan was sentenced to die in a gas chamber, and it was only because the California Supreme Court struck down the then existing death penalty that he had his sentence commuted to life with parole.
Phil?
Well, first of all, I want to make sure that our viewers understand how remarkable it is that you're on here talking about your boss, because this would not happen, I don't believe, with a high-ranking official of the police department, of the fire department, of the city of Los Angeles. So we do appreciate that from the district attorney's office. Having said that, it is called the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. So to make George Gascon's point, he feels that the DA's responsibility ends at conviction. Is that not a fair way to look at it?
Well, if he really believed that, he wouldn't be spending enormous resources on a very ambitious project to resentence 20 to 30,000 inmates. So obviously, he does not believe that our job ends at conviction, and it doesn't. We have a role to play in these parole hearings. We are another set of eyes for the commissioners. We are experts on the underlying offense, and we get access to the confidential inmate file that has all kinds of information about the inmate's performance in prison. And we are just there to look for red flags, to point things out to the commissioner. We also have the right to ask the
Let me ask you, John, let me ask you this. Sorry to interrupt you, but if this was John Smith who had killed someone that was not famous, we wouldn't be having this discussion, obviously. So how much does the underlying crime factor into these kinds of decisions?
Well, they used to factor in a lot, but because of recent changes in the law, they don't factor in as much. But they're still very important, because in order to gauge an inmate's progress, his maturity and his growth, you kind of have to know where he started from. So a lot of the things that you'll see in the prison records from his term in prison over the years will reflect back on the original crime. That's the importance of having a DA there, among other things.
John, the California District Attorneys Association feels very much like you do. They said, they put out a statement, some of it says this is further proof that Mr. Gascon has neither the competence nor the integrity to run the nation's largest district attorney's office. All right, there's another critique. This is the state DA's association. Does this matter, though?
Well, I think it matters to the extent that it lends credibility to what many of us have been saying, and not just prosecutors, but some defense attorneys as well, that George Gascon was never formally trained for the job he has been elected to do. He did get a law degree, but he never practiced law one day in his life before becoming a district attorney. And he's made a lot of mistakes since becoming the district attorney, both up in San Francisco and down here in Los Angeles. He's been exposed as somebody who's not prepared to do this job, not formally educated to do it, no experience doing it, and poor training in doing it as well.
Well, I've talked to a lot of people inside that office who want you to run for his job. What do you think about that?
Well, I tell you, first of all, I appreciate my colleagues. They go to work every day. They're working hard under some very trying circumstances, and I appreciate those who have that kind of confidence in me. If there is an opportunity to run, whether it be by recall or whether it be 2024, I'm trying to get my message out there and get people to know who I am and what my ideas are for the future.
That sounds like a yes.
Mm-hmm. It does. It does. Well,
okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
We hope you'll still be a friend of the special report, because I know that Gascon has not wanted to come on the 7 o'clock show.
But we welcome him
Yes.
on, and if he's facing a recall or facing an election against you,
Yep.
maybe he'll have to. So thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
We appreciate the perspective.
And Phil, thank you.
Have a great weekend.